am Tom Paton, film director, and I'm with Chris Gordon on Hellblazer Biz.
Hi everyone, I'm here with Tom Paton, director of Pandorica from last year, you may remember, and also from Redwood and Black Site. Hey Tom.
Hey, how you doing, man? You all right,
Yeah,
yeah?
I'm good. Good to have you back on.
Yeah, pleasure to be back on, man. It's been a busy year. So,
It has indeed, and I do apologise. We were just talking about the fact that I completely forgot about this because I was watching this.
to be honest, I'm guilty, so we're all good.
Guys, I was taken up with. Have you seen the Siege of Jadaville? The war
I
film.
haven't actually. No,
Oh,
is
the
it good?
Netflix one. Yeah, it's fantastic. To be fair,
Yeah, okay.
I've seen
Yeah,
it
did
on
you get to
Netflix for
go?
so long, but it's about the Irish, in obviously in the Democratic Republic of Congo back in the 60s. I
Well, I
never
mean,
even.
I'm in pre-production at the moment, so once I finish filming Black Site, I'll do a big binge watch session and catch up on everything I've already missed.
Yeah, yeah, it's busy like yourself. I'm just sitting here lazing my ass off all day, waiting for the new job to start. Cool. Anyway, yeah. So I mean, what we spoke just over. God, is it? No, it'll be almost 18 months ago. I think we last spoke
Yeah, I
when we
think it
were.
was last January, maybe I
I
spoke to
think
you
it's something
last.
like that. Yeah, waiting. Yeah, just in the
Yeah,
build up for Pandorica, which is obviously
yeah,
your first release, and came and met you guys. Obviously, we had a great time at the sci-fi weekender. Um,
yeah,
Fantastic support
yeah.
from
Of
you
course,
all.
because you.
Oh, you muted then. You went.
Yeah, it's all breaking up for me.
Yeah, yeah. No, so yeah, it was. Pandorica was great. Fantastic. I've got the Blu-ray sat in my room.
Oh, thanks for purchasing. Yeah, no, it was a crazy experience. That I mean, especially the sci-fi weekender thing because it was my first movie, and there's always that worry that just no one's going to care,
Yeah,
and yeah, it was a crazy response from that crowd, especially. I mean, for the time of morning, I think we played at like 10:30 a.m. and
yeah.
it was a packed house, and yeah, really, really enjoyable. And it was the first time I'd ever seen the movie with an audience, so
Mm.
I was sort of nervously deciding whether it was going to go down well, whether they were going to like the bits I was hoping they were going to like, kind of biting my fingernails, waiting for people to unintentionally laugh and break my heart. But none of that happened, and yeah, we got good reviews, and the film went on to do pretty solid business. So I got really lucky. So.
Well, yeah, definitely, definitely. I say it was a great weekend. I mean, I sat there, well, for the day that I was there anyway, because I say I appreciate all the
Yeah,
support you guys gave me just for coming in, because I was sat there, big-headed as everything, watching all these VIP guys who paid low, sitting there coming in, and there's me just sat there. Oh, look, 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 who I'm sat with. I was like, yes.
well, you've had a good 18 months yourself. I've seen some of the big guests you've had coming on the
Yeah,
show.
to be fair, there's been some cracking ones been on. It's not been
Yeah,
bad. I mean, obviously, yeah, so
I'm
it's
like
pretty much
I'm like
starting out.
12 guests now, Chris. So
Yeah, I mean, well, I was just starting out when I last spoke to you, I think, wasn't I, as well? So,
yeah,
yeah, it's been.
right. It's a good 18 months then.
Exactly, yeah, I think, yeah, episode 87 now, I think I'm on. So yeah,
Yeah, good.
it's been
Good to hear.
cracking, yeah. And so obviously we're here now to talk about the fact that following on from Pandorica, still waiting for Pandorica 2 news, but I'll try and ask that later. But yes,
Yeah, okay.
following on from, you've obviously you've just completed production now on the following film from that, which was Redwood, which
Yeah.
stars
So that
Nicky Brendan and obviously some of the Luke De Silva and everyone as well. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So it's totally wrapped. So I actually shot that last August. The movie was shot. And yeah, it was finished. We showed a sort of an early rough cut at Sci-Fi Weekender this year as a test, and went back and retooled elements that didn't quite work, and tighten the film up, so to speak. And yeah, now I mean, I'm really honoured to say we're going to be one of the opening night movies at this year's Fright Fest in Leicester Square. So
that's pretty
yeah,
awesome.
really, really incredible. And the response the film has been getting in its current state and even its earlier states has been yeah, more than I could ever dream of, because this time last year, I came up on my Facebook, on this day a year ago. I'd actually only just finished the script this
Right.
time last year, and then we went and shot the thing, which was a ballsy move, but thankfully it's paid off and the film's resonating with people. So yeah, I'm really excited for people to see that.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we filmed it. Was it Bulgaria, Romania, somewhere like that as well? Was it out there?
Yeah, no, so yes, it was actually shot in Poland, in the Polish mountains between the Czech Republic and Germany, a
Yeah.
place called Partniki, which just an absolutely beautiful location. Then the locals couldn't have been better. I think no, for a film to roll into your little mountain village and start shooting there was a
Yeah.
bit of a, especially in a random Polish town like that. They were super supportive. We had all the locals coming down every night, offering to help out and do whatever we needed from them. So that was really good. And yeah, it was a crazy experience, really. I mean, the whole thing's doubling as America.
Hmm.
Strangely enough, it's a lot cheaper to shoot in Poland than the States. But it's such a beautiful place, and there was so much texture to the mountain that we were shooting on. There was big derelict Nazi war, mausoleums and towers and stuff like that
Yeah.
were intrinsically just scary. I mean, because of all the history that comes with those kinds of buildings, they're terrifying
Well,
anyway.
yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, and then when you tell a vampire movie in the dark, there it suddenly goes to the next level, I think. So yeah, we were really blessed with that location.
Yeah. Fantastic. I mean, I used to live out in Need, not too far from there. Anyway, when I was
Oh,
I
right, okay,
studied German at uni, so I had a year living out in Svernitz, which is right on the Czech Republic-German border. So I think it's
okay,
probably a little bit west from where you were. But yeah,
yeah,
it's quite imposing. There was a lovely little on the actual border itself. My parents always used to love this because I used to drive through, and the difference back then in '96 between east and west, because it was still
yeah,
not built up, and you just like drove
cool.
from these like skyscrapers, glass skyscrapers, and then all of a sudden you drove into buildings which were still there from World War Two, which were still
Yeah.
potholed with bullet holes, um, and there was
It, it's still like that now.
yeah,
To be
some of the small villages are. There's one on the. There's always, I remember this Herrenhaus, which is a men's house, which obviously translates to a
yeah,
whorehouse, right on the border of the
yeah,
Czech Republic, and it was just riddled with bullet holes at a certain level where they've also had
yeah.
firing squads at one point. And yeah, you're right. I mean, it's imposing enough anyway. So there's some fantastic
Yeah, because it's so steeped
atmospheric.
in scary history, right? And you
Mm,
can't, I think you can't go into a location and start filming without that, being, it seeps into the way you light it and the
yeah,
direction you give it, and it obviously creates a sense of just, I think it creates like a sense of unease amongst the cast and the crew, and then I
mm,
think that always translates into the movie as well in those horror scenes. So I mean, one of the big set pieces in the movie was an abandoned Nazi mausoleum, and the history that we were given was that the family that owned this land were one of the big supporters of Hitler. They were sending money and funding across, and then when the German effort collapsed, they escaped to this mausoleum. They hid in the thing,
yeah.
and they were for 6 weeks before the Russians caught them and executed them on site.
Bloody
And
hell.
in the cellar below where we were shooting were human bones, skulls, feet. I mean, it was terrifying. And yeah, we're shooting above that. And trying to keep it quiet from the crew, like, oh yeah, no, there's nothing down there to see, don't worry.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
mean, it definitely has a big impact on my mind anyway as a director, and I'm kind of translating the fact that I don't feel overly comfortable where we're shooting, and that's going into this really uncomfortable scene that we're filming. So yeah, it worked out really well.
yeah. I can imagine. It sounds it.
Yeah,
I'd be bricking myself.
yeah, no, it was pretty scary. I mean, we are shooting out on a mountain in pitch black,
Mm,
and all you've got is the generator. If that goes, you're on your own, so to speak. But there's some interesting wildlife in Poland. I'll give them that. There's some very strange animal sounds that you just wouldn't get in England, and it's the first time in my career where we've been de-rigging, and you go to take the light down, and an entire horde of hornets have moved into the light and are like now they've set up, and nobody wants to take it now. We're like, well, do we need this light? We can just
yeah,
leave
we
it.
can just leave it here. Yeah, leave it for
Yeah,
the next crew.
definitely interesting. Put it that way.
God, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's bad enough. I remember when you talking about the Pandorica one about filming in the woods and stuff, how scary it was, and that was just woods on
Yeah,
its own. Yeah. So, I mean, I've been, say, I lived out there. I've been to Normandy and stuff. and seen what where you've got like historical things like that, and there is such a stigma about it. So yeah, I can imagine it's and the fact that it's a vampire sort of movie and the horror movie, then it makes it perfect, especially if the actors are on edge. Because you had Nikki Brendan over there as well, didn't you?
We did. We had Nicholas Brendan, who was just a real honour for me. I mean, I'm such a Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan, and I think Redwood is the first time anybody from the Buffy cast has done anything vampire related since the show.
Yeah.
So amongst the community, amongst the Buffy fandom, it's quite a big deal. Mm-hmm. And that puts a lot of responsibility on my shoulders to deliver to some degree. And the other thing I was really taking into it was, okay, I've got to deliver, but I've also got to give them something entirely different from Buffy. It can't. The vampires have to be new. And I think we achieved that. I set out to make a vampire movie that kind of overturned the vampire mythology, so to speak, and made them something different. And I borrowed from Wendigo mythology and mixed it in, and and I'm a massive Lovecraft fan, and so there's a lot of cosmic horror mixed in there too. So I think anybody going into it expecting traditional vampires is going to be, on the one hand, maybe disappointed, but on the other hand, hopefully they look at it and say, I see what they've done there, and it's a fairly fresh invention on the characters.
Fantastic. How long did it take to actually shoot that as well? Because
we shot that movie in 14 days.
So you're living up to your scheduling then, because Pandorica was about the same, wasn't it? Yeah.
I'm about to shoot Black Site, and this time we're shooting entirely inside, and we're doing that in 17 days. So I'm nudging along as we go, basically.
Wasn't Pandorica 7 days or 10 days or something?
10. It was 10 days.
Yeah.
10 really hard days. That's what Pandorica was. So
you're moving up. Yeah, you've gone 10.
Give myself a couple of breathing days, see what happens. But I mean, the scripts are getting more complicated as well, whereas Pandorica is a very sort of linear story,
there wasn't much the script for the dialogue and stuff. It was more
my intent, I mean, in some respects, I look back at it, it's like any filmmaker that, I intrinsically don't trust filmmakers that look at their own products and think that they're perfect and that there's nothing wrong with it. I think, even after I've made 40 movies, that I'll still look at and go, well, I could have done better there, and, I look at Pandorica now, and I think, on some respects, the film resonates with a lot of people because it is so linear and straightforward. And I think, there's a desire for that kind of movie these days because, a lot of films are overly complicated and they are like 2.5 hours long. And sometimes you just want a really simple 80-minute movie for a Friday night so you can have a beer too. And I think Pandorica fits that mold quite well. But for me as a writer, the scripts are getting more complex. Redwood, although it's set outside, is still a very different movie to what Pandorica was. And, there's a lot more underlying stuff going on, and there's a lot of twists and turns to be had, and there's a lot of rug pulling in the movie. So, and Black Site even more so. The film I'm about to start is by far the most ambitious thing I've ever written. And so I think when you start these things, you need more time to let them breathe. It's fine to shoot a very linear movie without any twists and turns in 10 days, but you can't do that when you're trying something a bit more complex, So that it's just a natural progression, really. I think as I'm becoming a better writer, my actual shooting time needs to increase with it as well.
No, that's really cool. I loved what you said as well, that you look back and you see what if there's things that you could have improved on, because that's how you get yourself. That's how you better yourself. You can't just, like you say, you can't just look at your stuff and say, right, that was perfect, I'll move on to this, because it's like with what I do, I have to look back at my older interviews and see, oh my God, did I really look like, did I really say that? Because if you don't learn, and you don't learn where you've done wrong, and you don't learn and look back and see, you can't. I don't think you could ever better yourself, because you always. The only way you can get better is by learning from where you've gone things before.
And I think if there's that lyric from that Baz Luhrmann song which is sort of ingrained in my brain, and that's the race is only with yourself. Mm-hmm. That's I think if you're looking at your fellow filmmakers or competitors, and you're looking at them in a way where you're comparing your own work to them, you're destined to fail. So the only real, and I'm a very competitive person, and I feel like I'm in competition with my own work. I look at what I've done before, and I think, right, how can I wipe the floor with that? Because I only really view myself as my own competition, and there are filmmakers out there vastly more talented than I am, and I know if I fixated on that, I'd probably just quit. Oh, I'm going. So, and on the other side of the coin, I know filmmakers that are, they make something like, this is the best, and drop mic. And I think, well, okay, well, where are you going from here? The point of art is to continually get better and refine your style. So if you genuinely think you've made something great, maybe time to try something different. If you're that good at this. I've definitely got a long way to go, though, is my opinion.
Fair enough. No, you are a great director, and as I say, I've got watched Redwood, which now I will hopefully be watching in next month at the Fright Night, Fright Fest.
I'll send you a private screener. Just don't put it on Pirate Bay, all right?
Thanks. Yeah. Right, make note of that now. I'll put it on. That'd be cool. Yeah. No, so I'll say I will get tickets as well, as long as I can get there in time to get to the for the Fright Fest as well, because that's a huge honour that for you.
Yeah, I mean the Fright Fest is such an incredible event. It's probably the biggest horror festival on the planet. In terms of horror, it's the San Diego Comic-Con of horror, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, definitely.
So I feel truly blessed that they picked Redwood. And when we got the announcement that Redwood was going to be playing at Fright Fest, in my mind I was like, hey, we're going to be on at 10 a.m. in the smallest possible screen, but it doesn't matter. We got into Fright Fest, and to be playing opening night, and we're alongside Death Note, which is a big Netflix film from Adam Wingard, who's a director that I really respect.
Yeah.
We've got Cult of Chucky, which is the sixth in a big franchise, and there's a film called Psychopaths, and all of those movies are vastly bigger budgets than we had, and it's such an honour to just be amongst that as company and being given that. So I'm super grateful to Fright Fest for the opportunity.
Well, yeah, like you say, it doesn't matter that they've got a bigger budget. It's what's the the content of the film as well. Like you said last year. Going back to Pandora again purely because what you said last year was like the budget for what was it for? Can't remember what film we were talking. Star Wars, I think, wasn't it? Their food budget just for catering was probably bigger than what you had for your entire film.
Well, even this year, if you look, they released the budget breakdown for Pirates of the Caribbean, the newest one, and they spent $2.5 million on food on that film.
Jesus.
And I think, holy shit, what would I do with $2.5 million? I certainly wouldn't spend it on food. That's for sure.
Exactly. Put it to good use.
But look, it's the nature of the industry. When you're making like a $200 million movie, you've got 400 crew, and you've got all these. There's so many moving parts to a film. So it's all relative, really. I'm able to pull off the films that we make because myself and my crew are super dedicated. And if you look at Black Site at the moment, so this is the first movie where there's not another production company. I'm not working with like on Redwood I work with Stern Pictures, and with Pandora I work with Mirror Productions, but on Black Site it's just Tom Paton Films. So it's really myself and George Burt and Craig Hind, my producers, and we're just every day do like where you would normally get like a room of 50 people, like it's just the three of us grafting day in and day out to get the people together. So it's all relative, really. We can pull the films off that we're making for the budget because we're saying, hey, I'll do all the work myself, but in future, I know from my perspective, and certainly my producers, we'd love some more money and we'd love some other people doing it for us, So.
Yeah, well, it'll happen. It's not just the three of you sitting there either, because you've been getting your asses kicked as well this week in your fight training.
Yeah, we've been doing well. Again, we've got an expansive team growing together constantly, and I think the reception for Pandorica and the good word of mouth, it said to the independent industry, all right, there's this guy, I've got a certain philosophy on filmmaking, and I think it's because I'm self-taught. I didn't go to university. I've been, I'll be 32 this year, and since I was 20, I've been doing this day in, day out. No other job, and just dedicated to this one particular art form. And I think a lot of people started to say, okay, here's somebody who doesn't need an ego stroke. Per se, I'm trying to find a polite way of putting this. Just want to make good stuff, and it makes people want to come and work with you because there's a lot of talented people in this industry that are fed up of that shit as well, and they want to be a part of something where it's collaborative, and there's a strong vision. The director knows what he wants, and and the scripts are adventurous and push the boundaries of what you're supposed to do on this kind of money. So we've been really fortunate because, you know, Redwood picked up a crew, and then Black Site, even more people have joined the party, and the talent pool is just getting bigger and bigger. And, you know, the fight choreography team, you know, which is run by a guy called Mark Johnston, who's just an incredible choreographer. You know, they're on board because they believe in the project, and it's just making the work better and better and better. And, you know, I'm really excited to show what that looks like. Just to be clear, though, I didn't get my ass kicked. I was very out of the. I'm orchestrating the ass kicking, but I'm just waiting for someone to come and give me a dead arm or a dead leg just for making it. But it hasn't happened yet.
I saw an Instagram live thing that Mike and Luke did. I think it was yesterday when they were just lying there, and the look on their faces like. But it's great. I mean,
well, and it's funny because, I mean, we've got some really heavily trained actors in the movie. You know, like their stunt training is through the roof. You know, they've worked on like Justice League and Wonder Woman and you know, Marvel movies and stuff. So, you know, their actual fighting ability is here. But there's some characters that are in the script that necessitate, you know, not having those skills, and that's sort of Mike and Luke's character. You know, and so they're sort of here, and they're watching these guys beat the shit out of each other and make it look easy. It's like, okay, our turn next. But their fight looks awesome, so I'm really pleased to show that one off as well.
Brilliant. Yeah, because you announced, is it Andrea Vassiliou was announced, wasn't she?
Yes.
Yeah. She was the Wonder Woman. She's been on Wonder Woman, wasn't she? So.
Yeah, so we've got Samantha Schnitzler playing the lead, a character called Ren. She was in Justice League. And we've also got Phoebe Robinson Galvin, who was in Wonder Woman as one of the Queen's Guard. And Justice League as well, and she's taken up the mantle of one of the main villains, Kerr. And then Angie has joined the cast as well as Agent Leonhardt. So I mean, to be fair, we've assembled basically Wonder Woman's Amazonians, and you know, and they really do have that extra skill level that makes the part so much more interesting to watch, I think. So
definitely. Andrew's been on my show as well before. That's the lovely thing as well, because the independent film network, the scene in Britain, is so strong. And what were you saying before as well is, like, I think there are a lot more actors in the UK who are out there and they're so talented, but that's the draw of independent film. It's, you know, some people might look at independent film and go, you know, it hasn't got these budgets. Yeah, but you look at some of these big budget ones and you see how some of the actors come off afterwards because, you know, they don't feel engaged because they're not happy. I mean, some have walked off quite recently, and things like that. Whereas the independent film, I know it's probably a cliche type thing. It's wrong. It might be the wrong thing to say. I think it's much more of a family type thing because the bond is so much there, and then you know that you can work with someone, and then it's basically a good career step because you can move that and work with these people again and over again in different projects.
Look, I'm a big proponent that, you know, especially in the last few years, and I think Pandorica and just the fact that a film of so little money ended up in cinemas in the UK proves this. You know, the gap between the big and the large budget movies is separating. You know, those sort of like really cool $20 million, $50 million movies have kind of vanished or just moved over to Netflix. But in the meantime, the technology is actually bridging the gap. So although there's a big difference between a $150,000 movie and a $150 million one, the technology is allowing filmmakers to make movies at the $150K mark, which can, as long as the storytelling is there, go toe to toe. You know, and I think that's only going to increase as the years move on. I mean, you know, we're going on Redwood. We use very traditional filming techniques. On Pandorica, we use real groundbreaking stuff just to get the film made. And you know, on Black Site now we're doing a combination of the two, and I'm excited to see what happens there. But I find it fascinating because I really think what it comes down to, and you know, especially from an actor's perspective, it's, you know, look for directors and look for teams of people who know what the fucking hell they're doing. You know, just because somebody gives you a $50 million budget, it doesn't mean it's going to be any good. If there's not passion in the project, if the story hasn't got something to say, if there's not a message behind there. I mean, one of the things I'm proud of in Pandorica, for all its simplicity as a movie, it's still got a point to say. It's got something to say about what kind of person you should be if you end up being a leader, if you get promoted at work. You know, it's got something to say, even though it's a simplistic movie. And and I think I try and do that with all my films, and I think actors can see that. They see that I care. I'm trying to say something, and so it's kind of irrelevant whether we're dealing with lots of money or little amounts of money, because I think there's a belief that we'll pull it off anyway, and it certainly was the case with Nicholas Brendan joining Redwood.
Yeah.
Because for him, he was very apprehensive about, you know, it's a low budget movie. It's shooting in Poland. It's vampires, so that's a real risk for him. But he believed in the project and he believed in what we were doing, and I was really, really lucky to get him over. And I think that more actors should support independent directors, but do their research. Have a look at the guy's stuff. Speak to them. Because if you join a project where someone doesn't know what they're doing and they are there to stroke their ego, it's going to go wrong. It doesn't matter what the budget is.
Exactly. And like you say, Nicky Brendan known all the way through for Buffy coming into another vampire movie. Yeah, so it's great to have, and especially like you say.
And he nails it as well, by the way.
I'm sure he does.
For me as a director, it was like, I'm playing it cool. I'm like, right, Nicky, if we could just do this, if we could just do that. And then I'm sort of going back to my monitor and sitting down and looking at my AD, and I'm like, holy shit, that's Xander.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm getting to work with somebody that I admired growing up as a kid, and and he didn't disappoint. It was awesome.
Brilliant. I mean, yeah, he was on. This was great as well, because every time we talk about someone, it's like I was talking to Mike, and we were talking about because obviously he's doing I know he's doing a few other things as well, but he's working with Luke with you. He's working with Mark Zammit as well on a couple of other things. I was like, yeah, Mark, I know well. Luke, I know. There will be Nicky Brendan was on last year as well, and all I remember of his for about 40 minutes. Just taking ripping me apart for being Welsh and sheep shagging, and it was just hilarious. It was but I can see how he could.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, he's a character, but he's he's a lovely guy, and I'm just super lucky that I got him to come and be in the film, and it is a very small industry. If I had any advice to any filmmakers or actors that listen to your podcast, it's just. Be really careful who you piss off, because it's just there were only ever 6 degrees of separation in any form of life, and within the film industry it's probably more like 3. If you upset somebody, the whole industry will know about it within a week, and you're going to struggle for that. So just be humble and just try not to be a dickhead, basically.
Exactly. I mean, I can say straight away, because I know 2 people who've really peed me off, who would from my show, and every person I usually speak to, I'm told, because it does pass around. Because I'll tell them, because it comes up. It's like, if you had any bad experience. I mean, I sat for an hour and a half after we'd arranged to meet to talk. Unfortunately, 15 minutes when you messaged me today to say I'm ready. I was like, shit. But no, we sat for an hour and a half. I'd done it especially early, because I've got a family, so it was a time that I would normally spend with my son. But for this one occasion, I said, well, no, because obviously who it was, I'd do it early. So I sat there, we connected on Skype, and then for 90 minutes he was sat on Skype and ignored every message I sent, he ignored every phone call I did, and he never even sent an apology back. And the next day I got his agent saying, sorry, he can't do it because he's too busy. And I didn't even get an apology. And that was David Harbour from Stranger Things. Yeah. So, it's... but I mean, to be fair, he's not going to get any bad word from me saying anything against him, is he? So fair enough. Oh, you've frozen there, Tom.
Oh boy,
yeah. Yeah. So,
idol of mine. He's working with Neil Marshall, who I'm a massive fan of. So let's hope it turns out well for that one.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it will. But yeah, I was going to ask that question about filmmakers as well, because I say my lad, he's 10. He's just made a film himself. He made one. They did a Harry Potter thing, and they had to film there. Do a little it's only literally a 2-minute short film, but it was to their local history. It's a start.
That's what I'm talking about with technology. A 10-year-old and go out and make a short film for 2 minutes now. I mean, I'm really excited to see what we're going to get 10 years from now, because there's kids making stuff on YouTube that make my films look like shit, and I think, well, what are these guys going to come up with once they're in a position that I'm in? So it's exciting times.
Oh yeah, I mean, he actually won. They've just 16 schools in the county. And he submitted his, and he won. Out of all the pupils in all the 16 schools, he won. So he's won them a whole day's film with the London Youth Film Academy next year, I think.
Wow.
And he's just been entered. His school then this week entered him into the Wales International Film Festival. So he's got
Fair
to,
play.
now got to make a film for that. So I'm taking him to Anglesey on Tuesday because we've been writing a script and we've been doing that. So he's going to be entering a film into the a 10-minute film
But
short.
you know what? It's an incredible age to start somebody off in a career, and I think that it's an art form. The more years you're doing it, the better you get. And that's, I mean, one of my favourite directors is George Miller, and I think his masterpiece is Mad Max Fury Road. And it took him till he was 71 to crank that out. So I mean, it's you got to just keep pushing until you hit your peak, I think. So
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, it'll be kicking off at 10. I've already told him that's it. Now I'm pushing you in that direction because I want to be sit back. I want to retire and just let you just
son, hurry up.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
And then he can go to Hollywood and I can start interviewing people more.
it's a fairly solid plan. I mean, why have kids if you're not going to do that with them?
Exactly. I think that's why my parents probably didn't like. I've not done it for them yet. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm immensely proud of him for that because it's the Wales International Film Festival is huge. So I was quite looking forward to getting some advice from the likes of yourself because I say the things that you've done, and and obviously Redwood's out, well, it's coming out soon. It's finished and everything like that, and you've got Black Site, which looks another wickedly awesome film because I spoke to Mike and I spoke to him off air as well, so we didn't record it. We didn't spill much anyway. I still don't know because he said, to be fair, at this,
I'll fill you in on it if you want.
please, Philip, tell me more. Tell me what you can because it's coming from your mouth now, so no one else is going to get.
Yeah. I'm just trying to. I'll tell you what. Let me just have a look for the official party line. There it is. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, the general through line of Black Site is I'm calling it Lovecraft meets the Raid. It's a supernatural action movie, very female driven, which I'm really proud of. It's one of the things that I was proud of in Pandorica, and really wants to expand on. And I guess in a lot of respects, Black Site is almost like it's like a redux of some of the themes from that movie, where I looked at that film and I looked at the things I got right, and I looked at the things that perhaps I could have improved on, and really poured that into Black Site. So I'm really proud of what we've got. But the general plot of the film is we follow a lead character called Ren, and when she was a little girl, her parents were killed in front of her by one of these things called an elder god.
Right.
And these were creatures that have existed since long before man came around. And when man rose up, he decided there wasn't enough room for the both of them, so pushed the elder gods into another dimension where they've become weak and depowered. And then in the 20s, a group called the Circle let them back onto Earth, and an agency called Artemis was founded, and their job is to catch these things and deport them back to the other dimension. And these things are, while they're in a weakened state, they hide within human beings and, basically drink them dry and move on to the next one.
Yeah.
So this agency catches these creatures, puts them in death row inmates, and then takes them to the Artemis Black Site and deports them back to where they came from. Cool. So the film revolves around this character, Ren, and she's grown up now. Her parents were killed by an elder god called Erebus, and they finally catch this elder god Erebus and bring him to the Black Site where Ren is working, and she can't pass the psych evaluation test to become a field officer. She's been, she's tried 6 times. She's a badass, but she's not fit for field duty as far as they're concerned. And on the night they bring Erebus in to be deported, all his followers siege the facility and send it into lockdown, and she becomes the last line of defense to send this thing back to the other dimension. And she has to escort Mike Beckingham's character, Sam, who's the deportation officer, through this facility to get to Erebus. And I mean, we've got an incredible cast, and there's a lot of mythology and a lot of world building going on within the actual film itself. But when you actually watch the film, it feels a lot more John Wick-esque. All this info is seeded in a really interesting way, and it's almost like you just accept the universe for what it is. And I'm really proud of it because it's the first, I feel, genuinely atheist supernatural movie I've ever seen, because I think there's an inherent difficulty to making a supernatural movie without bringing religious connotation into it, and which is why I looked to the works of Lovecraft, who uses religion to enforce this idea that actually there's not anything out there for human beings afterwards. There's no big afterlife and stuff. And I really filled the film with those kinds of themes and tones, and I think it's got some really interesting points to make. And I think more than anything, it's kick-ass. There's some really badass fighting in this film, and I hope that when people see it, they resonate with it, and they look at what we've done with Ren as a female character and how we've subverted action tropes. And as long as we land it in the production stuff, I think it's going to be something to be really proud of. So
brilliant! It sounds really good.
It's mad. It's completely mad, but it's a good kind of mad. So.
Yeah, no, it does. And I say the fighting scenes. There's all these behind the scenes things which you're pushing out now as well, and it just looks like it's going to be immense. So I can't wait to see either of those two.
Thank you. Well, do you know what the good thing as well is? It's all set indoors, which is a real change of pace for me.
Yeah, true.
It's nice to be on a set rather than out on location for a change, and I think people are going to be, if they've liked what they've seen me do as a director on the previous two films, I think they're going to see a real evolution in, the style and tone I brought to Redwood and Pandorica, but applied on a much bigger scale here and with a totally different setting. So
yeah, cool. It's good that you're indoors as well, because you might start getting a reputation for taking people deep into the woods.
yeah, we're already starting. But no one wants to come camping with me anymore. I don't understand.
Excellent. And before we wrap up, we did speak last year as well with the Pandorica. I know that was your intention to make more of them. Is that something? I mean, obviously because you've got these two films, it's still in there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm crazy busy. I've got some other stuff cooking. And I'm the kind of director I like to jump from project to project, but like I look at every film like it's a baby. Pandorica's my firstborn. And I'd love to see how it grows up. I'd love to return to it, and there are real big plans for an offshoot movie and a direct sequel to the first one.
Yeah.
So I guess the key to it is letting that film continue to mature and find its audience, and the more people go out and support it, the more chance I've got of raising the equity to go and shoot a bigger, meaner sequel. So all I'd say is, if you want a Pandorica sequel, you have to keep screaming and shouting about the first one and spreading the word, and because that's how the industry works. I'm afraid, the bigger the hit, the more chance you get for a sequel. So.
Yeah, very, very true. I've still got the comic, the graphic version you did upstairs, signed by you all, sat in a cellophane.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of that comic. We worked hard on that, and the guy who drew that, Matt Page, he's actually doing the whole art department for Black Site. So
nice.
It's kind of exciting. I'm looking forward to see what he does on a much bigger canvas, basically.
Excellent. Before I start recording, Tom, is there anything you'd like to say to people?
No, thanks for having me on the show, and keep doing what you're doing, man. It seems like it's going really well. So
brilliant. Thank you very much.